Thanks so much.
And Volodymyr Zelensky returned to the White House for fresh talks with Donald Trump. But interestingly, what we've seen in the last contentious February meeting, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berated Zelensky, and this for not saying thank you enough to American aid and supplies.
It's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today.
meeting.
Now, fast forward to today, inside the Oval Office, Ukrainian president came prepared with plenty of gratitude. Zelensky had said thank you 8 times, from Donald Trump to the U.S. First Lady Melania Trump to even U.S. allies. Zelensky left no one out. In fact, by the end of the remarks, he made sure his gratitude was heard over and over again.
I'm just here to be. Look, this isn't my war. This is. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I can, first of all, thank
Please.
you for invitation and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States. She sent a letter to Putin about our children, abducted children, and thanks to our partners and that you supported this format that after our meeting we can have leaders who are around us, UK, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, EU, NATO, I mean all partners around Ukraine supporting us. Thanks them and thank you very much for invitation.
The much-awaited meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has concluded in the presence of the EU leaders. But as we track the nuances of that meeting and decode whether a peace deal is going to be on the cards, we spoke to a panel of experts who break it down for us. And this is what they had to say. Listen in.
I think the Russian president really hopes that Trump would get something which would be sort of satisfactory or as a sound basis for compromise, which they can then sort of negotiate around. So in that sense, he's also holding his breath. He also doesn't know how things would go. He also knows that this is the only chance for peace under Trump's presidency.
Security guarantees, yes. No NATO security guarantees, okay. A US security guarantee, perhaps implemented by some Europeans, perhaps yes. Is there against the Russian veto or not? And therefore, I think it's worthwhile to call the other side to ask, well, do you agree with such a solution or not? And this could be an important, let's say, step forward in order towards, let's say, even towards a ceasefire.
Trump actually most recently has claimed that he's been strengthening it. Certainly, I am of the opinion that the increased military spending by European countries is long overdue and importance for boosting that alliance and dealing with the threat that Russia proposes. And Trump has talked down his previous doubts that he's cast over NATO. Now, for Ukraine and the security relationship that comes out of any potential talks here, that could really boost that alliance. That is certainly one possibility, but it is also possible that if Trump tries to force a deal and says that he won't continue to support Ukraine in the wider West unless they agree to Putin's terms, then that would be the weakest point that the Western and the NATO alliance has been at since the end of the Cold War and potentially be fatal.
Trump put the fear into some of the European presidents and prime ministers, i.e. that he had been threatening to perhaps leave NATO or not give the right amount of money or something along those lines. And the Europeans were really concerned that the Russian aggression would extend to them, that NATO would be attacked. And in the last year, the Europeans have really coughed up and they've paid a huge amount of money. They've increased their defense budgets. They're also giving arms to Ukraine, and they're buying them from Donald Trump at this point. So President Trump is very pleased with how things are going, and that's the reason why he's now giving these security guarantees to Zelensky.
There's a possibility, very strong one, that President Zelensky is going to have to give up some land. The question is where and how much. I think most analysts are sure that Crimea is lost forever. The question is whether they'll have to give up the entirety of the Donetsk region in the east, including bits where many Ukrainian lives were lost fighting over sometimes very small patches of land in almost World War I-like circumstances. So where both armies would fight for weeks over just meters and kilometers of territory. So that would be very painful